So my concern meter on Oregon basketball is ticking up. The Ducks have now lost two straight games for the first time all season long. That included a difficult non-conference, and that stretch where they won three in a row in that Las Vegas tournament that is bolstering their resume right now, still really impressive and also incredibly vital, lest you forget why I discussed those early basketball games here on the show and their importance. It's because a run like this happens to every team at some point. Most teams, I will say. I mean, sure, Kentucky went undefeated one year, lost in the tournament, by the way. Duke, when they had 3 top 10 picks, like those teams don't hit lulls like this. Oregon's in a lull. They are in a lull, and it goes beyond just the 2 straight losses. It's the way they won the games prior. They found a way against Penn State and Ohio State, and those games, again, proving huge. But Oregon is now 5-5 in Big Ten conference play. The Big Ten is really good. Oregon's not in danger of losing their status as an at-large team to the NCAA tournament. Their seeding, though, is starting to fall. They were at a 3 seed before they lost to Minnesota. That knocked them down to a 4. UCLA, I believe, is going to be back in quad 1 territory, but they go 0-2 against the Bruins after an outright disaster on Thursday night at Pauley Pavilion. 78-52, the final score. Oregon puts up 26 points in the first half and 26 points in the second half. And let's start with the offense before we get to the defense. It is infuriating to watch this team when they struggle for a couple of reasons. And the first one is their shot selection is really poor. And this does fall, even though we're going to hear the same sorts of quotes and frustrations from Dana Altman in the postgame presser, I'm sure, the same problems keep arising with the offense, which is their shot selection isn't good. It is really, really poor. So Oregon goes out, down 14 at the half because they couldn't play defense. I'll touch on that in a moment. They come out in the second half. They make their first 5 shots. They were almost all inside. Get it inside to Biddle. Have TJ Bamba slash. Stop shooting threes all the time. This is why it's so frustrating at times, is Oregon has built these deficits and they've climbed their way back. There is value in that. I don't want that to be disregarded. But this sort of stretch did feel inevitable. You can't fall behind by 10 to 15 points game after game after game and just keep winning and just keep pulling it out and finding a way to snatch a rabbit out of the hat time and again. It's going to catch up with you in conference play, and that's happening to Oregon right now. They lose to an unranked, previously 2-6 in Big Ten play Minnesota team who's improved, but again, you'd like to see Oregon win that game, and then they get embarrassed here by UCLA. 52 points, I believe, is one of the lowest point totals in the Dana Altman era. That's atrociously bad. They came out and shot 16 threes in the first half. They made 3 of them. They weren't falling down. Jackson Shelstad was scoreless in this game, on the heels of a game against Minnesota where Nate Biddle was scoreless. And the lack of adjustment to get your star players going on offense is a concern and has to be addressed for the Ducks in a major way. Major way. But then they started to claw their way back into it. It got as large as 17 or 18, and Oregon had whittled it down to 10. And they're coming up on the under 16 media timeout. They force a turnover. They're driving down the court 3-on-1, and they turn the ball over. That would have cut it to 8. Mick Cronin probably calls a timeout, and it's a different game. That's just one example. Oregon stepped on the sideline, catching a pass in the corner twice in the second half. They're not tough with the ball. They're getting out-physicaled on the rebounding department, on the boards, however you want to phrase it. They can't get crucial plays. They are not a detail-oriented team right now. Do I trust that Dana Altman can fix this? Yes, I know that he can. I've seen him do far bigger turnarounds in a season before. Last season at this time, Oregon was in a completely different spot and got themselves by the end of the year playing to a level where they could have made a run to the Final Four. That is not hyperbole whatsoever. They should have beaten Creighton, and they were an 11 seed. By the way, NC State, 11 seed, went to the Final Four. That was entirely possible with the way they were going. They probably Elite Eight might have been their ceiling because they were so dependent on 2 guys. Not having Keyshawn Bartholomew on that team in retrospect, seeing what Bartholomew means to this team was a huge, huge loss for the Ducks last year. Because it was Kuznard and Dante, and Shellstad still figuring things out as a true freshman. No one else could get their own shot. That team needed Keyshawn Bartholomew. This team needs Keyshawn Bartholomew, but it needs everybody else too. And so the frustrating thing about watching a team that is not shooting the three well, TJ Bamba is sub 30%. He's a guy that in his entire career, which spans several seasons across multiple schools, has been in the mid to upper 30s from beyond the arc, but he's not shooting it well. And yet in the first half, he wants to put them up. It's lazy. In the second half, UCLA still sagging off. He drives inside. He is darn near unstoppable. He was 4 of 7 on 2-point field goals and 3 of 4 at the free throw line. He was 0 for 4 from 3. Would I like to see him figure it out? Yes, because Oregon needs guys that can shoot. Kwame Evans is not taking a step forward offensively. He doesn't really have the opportunity to. Nate Biddle is cooling off. Oregon went 4 of 23 from distance in this game. So offensively, they have got to figure out a way to attack the paint early. Be inside out, not outside in, which is what they're doing right now. But they are bad in key situations. There was a spot where they were down 10. UCLA missed 2 free throws. KJ Evans didn't box out. Offensive rebound, 2 points, 12-point game. Those were the things that made this game so incredibly frustrating to watch. I mean, so incredibly frustrating. Because they were just not doing a bunch of little things well, and then UCLA was hitting shots. So defensively, Dana's teams have always been good defensively, and in the last couple of years, they've just straight up slipped. They have had games that are outside the norm and things that we just almost never saw. But this has become a trend now. And they said on the broadcast, interestingly enough, that Oregon has been a good team defending the three this year. Statistically, that is true. But when other teams get hot, boy, do they seem to get hot. And they will make tough shots, and Oregon just won't defend the three. They won't have enough energy. They won't have enough juice. And UCLA was 11 of 23 from beyond the arc in this game and 56% from the field overall. That's unacceptable. And Oregon doesn't show any pride, effort, or consistency at that end of the floor until they get down. Over and over and over again. And at some point, they need to decide enough is enough. Let's play this way from the start. We're not able to just wait and come back and hit a big shot late. It's great they did that before. It really is. It still has them comfortably inside the field of 68. But you cannot allow this thing to cycle now. This is the biggest test of the season because they've lost 2 straight games for the first time and 3 of their last 4 overall. And this was not the most difficult stretch. Washington, Minnesota, UCLA, Nebraska, 4 straight unranked teams. They've already lost 2 of them. Nebraska's up next on Sunday. They just beat Illinois, who, as you may remember, came in and hit 16 threes against Oregon in a game earlier this season. This team needs a response, and it needs to start at the defensive end of the floor so that they can get out in transition and find some easy shots, because it is clearly too difficult for them to consistently play half-court offense. That is not something that they can do for 40 minutes. They need transition buckets. Bamba needs to drive early. Shellstad's got to be more aggressive. He just wasn't looking for a shot at all. UCLA was more aggressive on the rebounding. They were more aggressive defensively. They looked longer and more athletic. They weren't necessarily. That's just how it looked. And everyone needs to go to Supreme Cook and say, how do you motivate yourself before the game? Because that's what I need to do. There is not enough physically killer instinct on this Oregon team. They're soft right now. They don't have to be for the rest of the season. But right now, they are soft. And UCLA bullied them on Thursday night. And hopefully, they take it personally, Michael Jordan style, and respond, because that's what they need. But Thursday was the worst game of the year by far. I mean, Portland was almost a disaster, but they found a way to win. I know that the team that beat Texas A&M, San Diego State, and Alabama in consecutive games is still in there. I know they are, but in those 3 wins, Oregon allowed 70, 68, and 81 points, and they gave up 81 to an Alabama team that routinely hangs 90 on other teams. That team is still in there, but they don't have it right now, and they've got to go find it. And it starts with Nebraska at home on Sunday. Get to Matthew Knight Arena and fuel them with energy if you can, because they need juice, and they lacked it on Thursday night, and UCLA swept them this season. But there is then going to be the toughest road trip of the year. At Michigan State. That's a borderline top 25 team, quad one team in Michigan, and number 7 Michigan State. So Oregon's been kicked. They're down. Got to respond. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games left in the regular season to keep Oregon in the top 5 seed range for the NCAA tournament. I would like to see them win at least 6. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend. And go Ducks.